Holy evolution of the Cold War, Batman. What a world we live in. Would you rather have 200,000 Facebook followers or 70,000 Twitter followers? Because the Facebook followers give you access to in-person events, but the Twitter followers give you access to the eyeballs of politicians and news anchors. So which do you pick? If you're Russia, you pick both. And not just hundreds of thousands, but millions of followers on both platforms, held in place by an army of disinformation bots firing off semi-automatic weapons of misinformation warfare. For example, Facebook 2016, Russian actors, Russian digital soldiers, Russian invaders, we don't have the right word for these, organized in-person Trump rallies via Facebook. And then they reached out to them and said, they obviously were not domestically present in the United States, and they reached out to them and said, hey, I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to attend the event. Would you be willing to take the lead? And then they reached out to media outlets and connected media outlets with these recently deputized campaign event leaders. So think about this for a minute. People in Russia got Americans off their couches for a political cause using their keyboards and bot farms. And then the real world media would cover this real life event, leading famously, or not famously, but like should be famously, to the Trump campaign itself reposting imagery from a political event that only happened because of Russian election interference. Holy evolution of the Cold War, Batman. What a world we live in. So I would say that those 200,000 Facebook followers are worth quite a lot. If, however, you pivot your disinformation to Twitter, your posts wouldn't just be seen by your tens of thousands of followers on accounts of Russians pretending to be Americans. They would also be retweeted by Russia's army of 50,000 Twitter bots, retweeted en masse. And just like the real Facebook accounts led to real life events, these fake posts being reposted by fake accounts led to real engagement from real humans, which in turn led to famously, not famously, but should be famously, Sean Hannity, Michael Flynn, Trump Republicans reposting disinformation from Russian political actors who were trying to get Trump elected. Real-life Republican politicians and real-life Republican news anchors legitimizing the disinformation of Russia in the public eyes of Americans. By the numbers, 50,000 bots tweeted 1 million times in the 10 weeks leading up to the 2016 election. That is 100,000 posts a week. That is 600 posts an hour for a month. The book I'm obviously referring to is The Mueller Report. I'm reading it to prep for the upcoming election. You probably remember, but in case you forgot, this is the report that was generated by the Department of Justice in response to allegations that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election. If you remember two words from the whole affair, you might remember no collusion.
There was no collusion with Russia.
And to think that you understand all 500 pages of this with those two words is like thinking that you understand The Incredibles because you remember no capes.
Meta Man, express elevator, diner guy, snag on takeoff, splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No capes.
You've forgotten Frozone, you've forgotten Violet Parr, you've forgotten Dash, and you've forgotten Syndrome. You know, Syndrome, the guy who uses deceptive technology to project power that he doesn't actually have, fomenting a fake conflict for false accolades and famously failing. We love you very much, but it's time to go home now. You might be wondering why I'm studying this right now, why I'm making a video on this right now. First of all, hi, I'm Charlie. I'm a bioethicist. I wrote my master's thesis on teaching ethics to machine learning systems like the Twitter algorithms, for instance. I'm not just interested in this because there's an election coming up. I'm interested in this because developments in AI technology, specifically developments with deepfakes of voices, deepfakes of people's likenesses, make the Russian bot farms look like a Discman compared to our iPhones and supercomputers. Gen Z, a Discman, like before we had the mobile internet, we would take music and we would write it to pieces of plastic, which we then put in a little device that would spin the plastic around in our pockets and would play us like 12 songs at a time. 50,000 Twitter bots is scary, but 50,000 Twitter bots with 8 years of artificial intelligence development, and not just AI development, but generative AI development, is practically a nuclear moment for disinformation warfare. We will be living through the most interfered with election in history to date, interfered with the most sophisticated tools history has ever seen. And we're like kind of pretending it's just a regular election cycle. This is bonkers. So let's back up. One of the things in this sort of regular old election cycle that we have is Republicans characterizing an increase in immigration as an invasion. I do not agree with my Republican neighbors on their characterization of this as an invasion, but I don't disagree with their moral prioritization of the sovereignty of our nation. If we were being invaded, that would be a big deal. And that would be important for us to pay attention to. Now, again, I don't agree with the rhetoric that immigrants are stealing our jobs and stealing our votes. But just for the sake of argument, what if I just pretended that I agreed for a minute? If I did, suppose non-citizens were taking American jobs and non-citizens were taking American votes, the maximum theoretical impact that they could have on society would be one vote at a time and one job at a time. An AI-enhanced disinformation bot is capable of much more damage than that. A intellectual invasion scares me more than economic invasion. And again, don't think it's an invasion, but just for the sake of argument. Trespassing into the edges of our minds is to me more intimate and scary than just crossing property lines. We say existential threat all the time. Iran developing a nuclear weapon would be an existential threat. But when the attack targets our perception of the world, that is an epistemic threat. Epistemology is the philosophical study of knowledge. An epistemic threat is a threat to our knowledge. The wildness of an epistemic attack is that if it succeeds, you cannot see it, almost by definition, because an attack on your perception is an attack on how you see the world. Let me say that differently. If someone broke into your house, took your TV, and burned down the rest of the house, you would notice, and you'd be upset. If someone broke into your house, stole your TV, and took your journal out and was reading passages of your journal and left your journal open to a vulnerable moment, you would also be upset, but you'd also be creeped out and weirded out. But if someone broke into your house and they used a new advanced technology to change some of your journal entries subtly in a way that you could not tell which thoughts were theirs and which thoughts were yours. And then they opened your family photo albums and they tweaked some of the pictures and changed some of the memories in nearly undetectable ways. That would be a new kind of crime. That would be something that we do not even have a word for yet. And if they put the journal back, there's a chance that you couldn't even have an emotional reaction because you wouldn't have noticed. When an epistemic attack succeeds, you cannot see it because it has become how you see the world. We simply do not have language yet for the kind of epistemic invasion the Cold War has evolved into. Biological warfare is already taken. Information warfare kind of feels a little bit weak, if we're being honest. These feel more like psychotechnical weapons in a neurological invasion, psychological warfare's nuclear moment, brought to you not by splitting the atom, but by splitting society in two. "9/11 was an attack on American lives, and we united together after. 2016 was an attack on American minds, and we didn't unite after because the attack worked." I have many more thoughts, but we're going to leave it there for now. This video is an arm, a branch of a mind map juxtaposing Edward Snowden with Robert Mueller and comparing America's reactions to 9/11 and January 6th. We're focused on the Mueller report in this video. The Snowden video is already up. It's the one before this. The full, fat, long form YouTube video is going to be up as soon as it's ready. We're developing it in pieces. Here's a little glimpse of the mind map. Patreon supporters will get access to the mind maps as I'm interrupting them. That's my timer that I've been filming for a long time. So I need to wrap this up because it's 1:30 in the morning and I need to edit this. Thank you for watching. Cite your sources. Now more than ever, cite your sources. I'm Charlie for That Makes Sense to Me. Thanks for watching and happy reading.
You tell me what my suit is, woman! We are talking about the greater good!
Greater good? I am your wife. I'm the greatest good